allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Erby?
Here.
Councilmember Page?
Here.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Here.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Here.
Councilmember Stanger?
Here.
Councilmember Quinn? Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. No, it's not.
Oh,
Approval of the journal.
I move for approval of the journal of the meeting of September 30th, 2014.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The journal is approved. We have no bid openings this evening, so we'll move to communications.
Madam Chair, there are no tax compromises or zoning matters this evening, so I'll move to road and bridge matters. Under road and bridge matters, item number 1, 3rd District.
Receive, file, and the street be accepted for maintenance as requested.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, we should let the record show that Councilman Quinn has joined the meeting. Item number 2, 5th District.
Receive, file, plans, specifications, and detail estimate of cost be approved, and the Director of Procurement be authorized to advertise for bids with regard to St. Louis County Project Number AR 1523, which is the Brentwood Road Project, and the Complete Streets Interdepartmental Advisory Team report and St. Louis County Project Number AR 1436 be held on the order of business, and a copy of this report be sent to the interested parties. That is the Hanley Road Project for further review.
So ordered.
Second.
Oh, I thought didn't you hold it?
Well, part of it,
Oh, okay.
half and half.
Okay.
So you can half hold
All
it.
right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 3, 7th District.
Move to receive, file, contract in an amount not to exceed $168,157.50. Be awarded to Gershenson Construction Company, the lowest responsive bidder. Contract shall not provide for contingencies, and a copy of this report shall be sent to the interested party.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We're going to under communications, Madam Chair. Item number 1, all districts.
Receive and file, and that will be the order.
Item number 2, all districts.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. Same motion for item number 3, and that will be the order.
Item number 4, 2nd District.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 5, 6th District.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 6.
Same motion through item number 7, and that will be the order.
Item number 8, all districts.
Receive and file, same motion for item number 9, and that will be the order.
Item number 9, all districts. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
We don't have any.
No, Adam.
Okay.
No, Adam.
Okay, county executive, do we have any reports?
Madam Chair, no report.
There are no reports of the special committees this evening, so we'll move to the public forum. We have 23 speakers.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, Jen? Each speaker is allowed 2 minutes to speak. Jen will alert you when your time is up, and then we ask you to bring your comments to a close.
First speaker this evening is Larry Rice.
Good evening. For 2.5 years, we've been asking St. Louis County to please open a shelter, and it has not yet happened. We believe that perhaps some would think it's budgetary problems, but at the same time, it's more like a priority. Where are we going to establish our priorities? Because St. Louis County doesn't have a walk-in shelter, it's putting tremendous pressure on us in downtown St. Louis, to the extent that we've been having now to go before the Board of Public Service because of the extensive overcrowding and other issues. I would encourage the county to take a look at how it's spending funds, for example, in overreacting to various demonstrations. Highway 70, 100-plus officers showed up when 10 could have done the job. Also, when it arrests people, how it treats them. For example, when the cuffs are put on so tightly, in my account, I still have lost feeling in my right hand. It subjects the county to further, perhaps, suits, which I don't plan to submit, but they've already had many of those types of suits already. I believe that they took all the military weapons that they had that they don't need to be using, the Humvees, tanks and the like, sold those, we could open a shelter for the homeless. But there's way too many homeless people from St. Louis County that are coming. Just a few that are staying with us have come now to present their cases this evening, and I would encourage you to please put people over profits, people over military weapons. The boys may want their toys, but I don't think they need to be spending money on that when they could be spending it on shelters. And again, because knowing of the overkill as far as the county is concerned, all one has to do is announce that they're going to shut down a highway, and 100 police officers will be sent there, and the county's a big loser in it all. If they would exercise the same restraint we saw at Powell Symphony Hall when they let people express themselves and share their concern over the fact that protesters are being arrested while the officer who committed a murder has not yet been arrested, I think that we'll see a lot less county funds spent, and there'll be more money for shelter, and they'll be able to stop giving us excuses. People have to stay on the streets.
Thank you. Next speaker is David Miles.
Good evening. In 2010, I paid off my home in Florissant. I was told that the bank had failed to pay the taxes for the prior 3 years. And St. Louis County would not put me on, they had no means to put me on a payment plan in order to keep the county from taking my home. I had to refinance my home through a hard money lender at 37% interest. And when I was about in danger of losing that, every agency I called referred me to Reverend Rice. I tried to explain to them, I'm not homeless. I'm trying to prevent being homeless. And yet, that was the only answer any agency could give me, including St. Louis County. Why should St. Louis County residents have to come to downtown St. Louis to find a shelter for the homeless? Our tax dollars, as county residents, supported you, paid your salaries, and supported your programs. Our votes put some of you in office. I would ask that you live up to the promises you made during your campaigns and faithfully honor the commitments that you made when you took office. Reverend Rice has already done more than I ever dreamed possible for one person. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's your turn. Thank you.
Next speaker is Barbara McCann.
I work in the night shelter at Reverend Rice's, and a lot of times they bring in women and children. They're taking them completely out of their neighborhoods. They're taking the kids out of their schools. These children know nothing of the city life. They're scared, they're terrified. But when the police bring them, that is the only place there is to bring them. If they had shelters in their neighborhoods, in their counties, and so forth, those children could go to school where they go to school. They could be in their neighborhood. When something happens, they wouldn't be terrified because there would be familiar people around them. So I just think, and I agree with the man that just spoke, I was from the county, I did vote and put some of you in office, because I'm a lot older than he is. And there were a lot of promises made, and they haven't been kept up. But if you don't want to think about the adults, think of those children when they're terrified. And I just want you to consider having a shelter, because those children are the ones that everybody needs to think about. The adults have lived their life. Those children are the ones that are going to be around to run this country. And they don't need to be terrified like that. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mary Brock.
Hi, about two and a half weeks ago, I was hit by a car when I was crossing the street, and I spent about a week in the hospital. My knee was fractured. And when I was released from the hospital, they said, call the 800, well, there's an 802 number. They said, call this 802 number. So there are a lot of shelters around here, and you can go to one of those. Well, they're full. It's called the Housing Resource Center, and they were full. And so I found out the hard way that there is nowhere for people to go who don't have homes when they've been injured and they're in the hospital. There are a lot of wonderful shelters, there are, but they're frequently full, and they're usually for people who have alcohol problems, drug problems, mental illness, people who have been hit by a spouse. And so anyway, I just wanted to let people know, if I still have time, that I called Larry Rice, and they said, I told them, I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to stay at your place because I can't walk. I have a walker, and I can't make it very far. So they said, we'll make exceptions. They took me in. And when I was hit, I just had the clothes on my back. And they took me in. They found a wheelchair. Somebody had donated. So now I'm mobile, more mobile than I was, believe me. And they have something called a free store. So now I have clothes to change into, because when I was hit and when I was in the hospital, I just had one set of clothes. They've given me food, and I was having trouble with my Gateway insurance. I needed some medication, and they gave me a voucher, and I went down and I got my medicine. So everything that I needed, I wasn't expecting this actually. Everything that I needed, they provided, and also much more. You know, there's been a lot of support and things, but and I need 2 weeks for my, or I'm sorry, 2 months for my bone to heal, and it looks like I'm going to have that now. So I just wanted to let you guys know the situation.
Next speaker will be Lori Janey.
I'm Lori Jenny. I'm from St. Louis County, Shrewsbury. I have voted some of you in. You ought to keep your word. Reverend Rice is in very need of a shelter in the county. That's where I'd like to be. That's where I want to be. That's where I was born and raised. I became homeless because my husband passed away. I took care of him for years. It's what you do. You stand behind your man. I stand behind Larry Rice because I've been given a home with him. These are my brothers and sisters outside of my real family. You can believe that. I have a safe place to lay my head, but I want my place to be in the county. And that's why you should open a shelter in the county. Trust me. Thank you.
Next speaker is, I'm not sure, Glenna Stevens, is that?
Well, my story's a little bit different. I almost committed suicide because I was so desperate. I didn't have anywhere to live. And I work for Larry Rice now, answering the phone sometimes, and I get people calling all the time. They just need somewhere to live, and there's just nothing from the county. And so I try to direct them, you know, you can come here, or sometimes they can't come to that shelter, you know, for whatever reason. And they just need help. And when I answer the calls, sometimes it's about people who need help with utilities or things, and they say, you just don't understand, you just don't understand. I said, honey, I understand better than you do. I said, I really do. Trying not to cry, it's very hard. So a lady came by and rescued me, and she took me to Larry's shelter. And that was the first time I'd ever been inside a shelter. I didn't know where I was. I was scared. And I felt at home. I learned about God. I'd never been to church in my life, if you can believe that. It took me 51 years to meet Jesus. But I met him there, and it's been really great. So I do understand these people when they call me, and I try to do the best that I can to help them. But sometimes we cry on the phone together, honestly, and we pray. But the reason I say that they saved my life is because I almost committed suicide. I was on my way to do that when a lady picked me up. She said Jesus sent her to pick me up, and she took me to Larry Rice, and I've been there for several months. And like I said, I'm learning about Jesus. I'm learning the Bible, and it's so helpful. I'm so grateful. And I just think if you had a center here or a shelter here that people could go to, that would be one thing that they would get from it. And I never want to be in that place again because it's scary. It really is. To be outside in the cold, and I had police stopping me because they were really kind to me. They weren't like, you know, trying to lock me up or anything, but they would come up and say, if you see this guy, he got out by mistake, he's dangerous, stay away from him. And I had seen that man, and so because they warned me, I walked in a different direction to get away from him. But, I mean, if I had had a shelter, I certainly would have went in there other than staying out on the street trying to kill myself. So I just wanted you to know that these things do happen, and people need somewhere for the children and for themselves. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Joanne Land. Joanne Land.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Joanne Lamb, and I am here representing the group Disabled Advocates of Southern St. Louis County. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. Recently, a lot of media and local and national attention has been focused on the funding going to equip our police departments with military surplus and other expenses tied to the events going on in Ferguson. If some of that funding would be spent on providing sidewalks, curb cuts, and crosswalks around the St. Louis County area, we could prevent more tragedies like the death of the disabled individual on an electric scooter who was killed in North County several years ago. He was struck by a vehicle while trying to use a street that did not have sidewalks. In the past, I have caused an accident between two vehicles in South County because I was sitting on the road waiting for a public bus. There was no sidewalk to make that public bus accessible for me. One of the reasons I do not regularly use the public bus system here is because of the lack of safe methods for commuting to and from the bus stops and the places I want to go. It is so unsafe in some of the areas of St. Louis County for individuals who are disabled that we have to frequently share the public streets with vehicles just to move from one place to another. Several years ago, I was almost personally struck by a car trying to cross at a stoplight where there was no crosswalk. Just this last month, I had to use the street to reach a local park in Spanish Lake from a nearby disabled community. At several points, there was no shoulder, and I actually had to drive in the street to reach the entrance to the park. At least one car honked at me for being in the road, in the street, in a wheelchair. My neighbors, friends, and I frequently risk life and limb to do normal, everyday activities that you take for granted, such as going to a restaurant, a park, the mall, and even grocery shopping. Like Elizabeth Banson, who was struck and killed in St. Louis City in 2005 while going to her local grocery store, we who are disabled should not have to risk our lives to do ordinary, everyday activities. Therefore, in conclusion, I ask for 2 actions from this county council today. 1, make funding projects which will add more sidewalks, curb cuts, and crosswalks in the county a priority. 2, in instances where MoDOT is responsible for providing such funding, add your voice to the request that disabled advocates of Southern St. Louis County and other advocacy groups submit for such funding through actions such as official letters and phone calls to MoDOT asking for priority status. I would like to add another little note. When I drove in tonight into the parking lot across from here, my companion, who's in a manual wheelchair, could not cross at the corner to come over to this building because of the steep grade of the crosscut. We had to cross from the parking lot along the parking lot ramp over to a driveway across here at the building in the middle of the street to come to this meeting tonight. Fortunately, neither one of us were hit, but that shows if even our county business is not, the building in which our county business is conducted is not safe for people in wheelchairs. A lot of the other places are not safe. Anyway, thank you for your attention and your time tonight.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Denise Patterson.
Good evening. My name is Denise Patterson. I'm with the Disabled Advocates of Southern St. Louis County. I wish to ask the County Council to review and revise the laws on handicap parking. And we would like to have them mirror the statutes of the state. After they are reviewed and revised, we would like to have a copy sent to every police officer in the county so that he has the information for enforcement of those laws. We would also like to have those laws sent to the Board of Planning and Buildings so that new parking lots will have the proper signage and that they will reflect the new parking spaces for lift van only spaces. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Jamel Span.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jamel Span, and now that I'm sure, as we've all been aware, an official 25-page injunction has been made on behalf of a local judge citing all of the unconstitutional, I'm just going to say trespasses and transgressions that have been carried out against us peaceful protesters, such as the 5-second rule. And my question is, now that I have officially been made aware that County has taken over the Ferguson Police Department, particularly a few of the St. Louis and Ferguson County officers there
since they were the ones who made arrests under the false pretense of an unconstitutional 5-second law, I was wondering, I just need to make an inquiry as to who is responsible, who has accountability for those actions, because if arrests were made under an unconstitutional law, then therefore those arrests in question are unconstitutional. And due to all of the bail and bond money that me and the 12 other people who were arrested with me had to pay, I've noticed that I just think it's wrong that we have to pay bail money for what was in essence a wrongful arrest. And I'm fully aware that none of this money is probably going to go towards things such as building shelters for our community. All of this money is being siphoned right back into the fund to militarize the police. And I'm just wondering, who can we as a people hold accountable? Because night after night, day after day, when unconstitutional acts are taken against me and my people, everyone that you have stationed, whether they be County Brown or not, repeatedly tells us that they are not in charge, they are not in charge. And I am tired of being rerouted and gridlocked when I'm trying to find the person that's accountable for disrespecting my people as we try to seek justice for one of our comrades. So please, I urge you to try to find some accountability. Thank you.
Next speaker is Heather DeMann. Heather? Is there, Heather? Oh, okay.
Hey, I haven't even talked yet. So, my name is Heather DeMayan. I grew up in Columbia. I currently live in St. Charles. On August 9th, I started seeing a number of reports on Twitter and Facebook and videos on YouTube about the shooting of Mike Brown. And I started seeing videos from that evening where people had gone to form a memorial in the middle of the road, and police came and released dogs on them. And these were peaceful protesters with their arms in the air. And this bothered me very greatly. And the next day, on the 10th, my mother and I decided we were going to go to, there was a candlelight vigil for to memorialize Mike Brown that night on West Florissant and Canfield. And we went there, and it was a peaceful candlelight march, and people started marching up from Canfield onto West Florissant, and all of a sudden the police released their dogs on people again. And then police from St. Louis County and over a dozen other municipals blocked the road at Ferguson and West Florissant and stood there in tear gas masks. There is a media narrative that they escalated after the looting. This was well over an hour before anything was looted. They all had their tear gas masks on, ready to attack peaceful protesters. I have video of it. On the 17th, another peaceful march, we were attacked out of nowhere with tear gas. A young man named Josh pushed me out of the tear gas. Other protesters helped wash my face and helped get me out of there. And then the police advanced up the street and they hit us again with the tear gas. They had Bearcats on the roads, the armored vehicles. Last week, Reverend Gamble was here from the Association of Spanish Lake Advocates, and he was wondering why there was money for tear gas, but not for wheelchair accessible sidewalks where he lived. And I have the same question because there's a narrative that St. Louis County got all of their equipment from the 1033 military surplus program. Yet on that list of what they received is not tear gas nor Bearcats. And county told me directly on Facebook that they bought all their Bearcats directly from Lenco Armor. So that's where they did not get that free from the government. That is county money being spent to attack residents and visitors and supporters in that community. And that young man who pushed me out of that tear gas on August 17th, a week and a half ago on a Thursday, I filmed and witnessed him being attacked by police, being thrown to the ground, beaten and choked with an officer's hand on his throat. There was no reason for any of that. I watched a woman beaten unconscious, hogtied, and carried, her limp body carried away. I have it on video. Am I out of time? Because I'm kind of rambling.
Yeah. You are, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's
So if
fine.
you-
That's fine.
Rita Sherrod? Sherrod.
Hello, my name's Rita Sherrod. I'm originally from Bridgeton, Missouri, where in 2012 I lost my husband. I tried to work with the Bank of America, called them. You're not on the loan. I had loan papers proving I signed that loan with my husband. But when Countrywide sold my loan to Bank of America, my name was taken off. They foreclosed on me. I was told, call the hotline. You'll get home. I have my grandchildren, 3. They are now 12-year-old girl, an 8-year-old boy, and a 9-year-old boy that I adopted under foreseen circumstances. We lost our home, and there was no shelter. I called the hotline, called them. I called them for 60 days. And they said, sorry, you're not on drugs. We don't have room for you. Larry Rice took me in, took my grandchildren in, gave us a place with him. He gave us a transitional home. The kids have a yard to play in now. But there was no shelter, no help from the county. I've lived in St. Louis County since 2003, when I moved over here with my husband and my daughter. And you guys, we voted for you, we've paid taxes, and you have no shelter out here. That is unfair. It's unfair to us county people. My grandson last night came home from school lashing out, and I finally got him to talk to me. I miss my home. I miss the school I went to. I miss my grandpa. I can't bring his grandpa back. But, you guys put a shelter out here in the county and bring a little boy of 8 years old back to the schools he's used to going to. Thank you.
Next speaker is Kathy Blunt. Kathy Blunt, or Blount.
My name is Kathy Blount. I grew up in Brentwood in Audubon in Town and Country Apartments. I lived on Alethea with my mother in the city. I lived in Park Forest Apartments. I lived in Marlboro Trails Apartments. I lived in Maplewood Village Apartments. I've paid rent everywhere. The last place I lived was Oakville, Missouri. I had a basement apartment there, a 2-bedroom. The lady and I got in an argument. She called the police, and the police wanted to put me out on the street. I have never been out on the street before. So therefore, I had to take a bus, 2 buses, to downtown to a shelter. Now, I am looking for another apartment. I will probably get another apartment, but this is probably going to happen to me again. So therefore, what am I supposed to do? That's all. Thank you.
Next speaker is Veronica Macklin.
Hello, my name is Veronica Macklin. I live in Florence, Missouri. I came homeless August 4th, and my god sister lost her house. I called every hotline that I could find. There was no shelters open in St. Louis County, and then evidently my friend dropped me off at the Greyhound station. I kept calling the 1-800 number. They were said no openings. Luckily, a guy escorted me to Larry Rice. If it weren't for him, I would not have nowhere to stay at. So I would advise you just to get at least 1 or 2 shelters in the county so parents and children can stay in the county and live their own lives. Thank you.
Next speaker is Angela Smith.
Hi. I became homeless when somebody had broken into my mother's house and they tore it up. And so my mother was forced to sell her house because the St. Louis County Police said that the house was not fit to live in. So I called the hotline trying to find some place to live. And they said there is no shelters in the St. Louis County area. So they sent me to the city where I didn't know nothing about the city. I'd never even really been in the city. And when I got there, I was scared. I didn't know what to do. And so I think it would be nice for you to have a shelter in the St. Louis County area.
Next speaker is Pamela Johnson.
Hello, my name is Pam, and I'm from Kirkwood. 20 years living in Kirkwood, and it was my community. I raised 4 children there, and then unforeseen circumstances came around. I got sick, and I couldn't work anymore. And I ended up having to go to a shelter. Well, I called and called and called looking for shelters, and there wasn't any. And I was scared to go to the city. I didn't want to go. And I ended up begging my family, begging. Can I please have some money? Can I stay with you? Something. I didn't want to go to the city, but I ended up going to Larry Rice's. And if it wasn't for him, since January, I'd still be on the street. And with all my illnesses, the other shelters told me they couldn't accommodate me. I was in one, and because I continued to go to the emergency rooms and ended up spending several months in the hospital, they said, "I'm sorry, you can't stay here anymore. You have to go." Well, Larry's taking me in, and even though I do have all these illnesses, he works with me. He helps me, and he's making me a stronger woman. And I'll be able to get back on my feet again, but I would rather people stay where they're accustomed to. It'd be so nice to have had a shelter in the county I could go to. My worst fears came true when I was attacked in the city. I only had $5. I mean, my attackers probably had more than I did. But it was scary. It's scary going where you're not accustomed to, and it would be great to have a shelter in the county. Thank you.
Next speaker is Elaine Farrell. Elaine Farrell.
My name is Elaine Farrell. This will be my second time being at Larry's Rice Shelter from the month of August until 3 days ago. I'm just getting back out of the hospital. I had a cardiac cath done, and I became homeless because because I wasn't able to work. I lost my job and I got evicted and I couldn't pay my back rent. This time, I have hypertension real bad, several different illnesses. So I ended up in DePaul Hospital, and Larry Rice saved my belongings from me in the past, helped me get the medication, saved my bed, and this is where I've been for the last 3 days. And, it's very hard for me. Okay, and because of me being in the shelter, I am able to eat, to take a shower. I'm not sleeping very well at night. I'm not downstairs in the women's shelter like I was. Brought me back upstairs, put me in a comfortable bed. And that's where I am. So if you all could please understand, everybody that's homeless, it's not because they're on drugs. It's not because they're on alcohol. It's not because of mental illness. Bad health can fall on anyone at any time. The predicament that I'm in, it's not because I want to be, but I'm very, very grateful. So the only thing I want to ask you all is, could you all show some type of love and compassion for any homeless person, any mother with children, anyone? And if you all could just find it to consider opening a shelter for people in the county as well as the one in the city, because sleeping out on the street can be very, very dangerous for anyone, especially a mother or a mother with children. Anyone. It's dangerous. Please consider that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Next speaker is Taylor Kane. Taylor Kane.
Hello, we meet again. I have a prepared statement after hearing about the people with Larry Rice that live in St. Louis County and the ADA, the handicapped accessible people. You all should feel ashamed of yourself. I realize that you just asked the federal government for $2.4 million or something around there to cover all of the overtime for these officers who've been violating our constitutional rights as determined by a federal judge with an injunction yesterday. Where is this money for all 55 plus police departments that's necessary going? All of these fees and all of these fines, what are you doing with it? You're not using it for safety. You're not using it for the homeless in St. Louis County or people in transitional housing. Where is this money going? Is it going to your pockets? That's why you're being quiet? I'm pretty sure that's what it's doing. Let's see, I still got a minute. So it's been an exciting week since the last time we spoke last Tuesday. Your officers in Ferguson and St. Louis County have added to the list of constitutional violations. On Thursday, 13 people were arrested. When there was maybe only 15 to 20 people outside, it was really rainy. So it was odd that they decided to arrest a bunch of people on Thursday who were standing on the sidewalk. They were not in the street. They weren't impeding traffic. For inciting violence with whatever ordinance that is, that seems to probably also violate the First Amendment. So that's adding to what the judge just ruled yesterday as far as our right to assemble and our right to due process. So now you've added freedom of speech. They were given, some of them, egregious fines over $2,500. We were given the runaround between St. Anne and Ferguson where they were staying. At 3 a.m., we were told to contact Ferguson PR to determine what their bond and charges were. PR, public relations, not PD. I assume that they're unable to handle, so that's why St. Louis County was taken over. That doesn't make me comfortable since they're the ones that have been, as you know, with this injunction. I urge you to read that 25-page decision on an injunction, which I've been told is not even normal. So get ready for her actual decision. That's going to really help us when we're suing all of you. St. Louis County, St. Louis Council, Police Department. I urge you, with Chief Belmore is a liability for St. Louis County. I know he wasn't your first choice because the guy that was over with the crime lab and all that. I might look young. I wear a college sweatshirt. I'll be 29 this month. So yeah, I'm a little bit older than what you probably thought I was. I pay taxes. I have 0 dependents. I am a financial analyst. I make over $40,000 a year, so you guys are taxing the crap out of me. Use my money for people that need it and not for people like you.
and I can't read the last name, Maddock?
I'm William Maddock. For 17 years, I had an apartment in Oakville in South County. I loved South County. I loved that neighborhood. It was peaceful. It was peaceful. Then I ran into a problem where I realized that I was working for a company, and there's a lot of companies like this, and some of you guys probably own some of them, that refuse to recognize their responsibility to make certain that their valued employees can afford to continue working for them. You might not want to recognize that, but if you don't want the economy to fall through the floor, you better start recognizing it. Now, I became homeless because of that. I couldn't get to work. I don't drink. I'm not on drugs. I'm not mentally ill. So according to the hotline, there would be no bed anywhere for me because I'm a normal person. I can tell you this. If you were to take a cross-section of the homeless community, it would be precisely the same as any other population. So you need to get off of the bigoted attitudes toward the homeless. You need to stop this nonsense about not in my backyard. Some of you are claiming to be Christian. Some of you are Jews. Some of you might even be Muslim. All three of you recognize Moses. He has a command. For those who cannot provide for themselves, you will provide. And it's not in your backyard. It's in your doors. It's in your doors. How can you go into a church that worships the homeless Savior and there are no beds for the homeless outside your door? There are plenty of buildings that are good buildings that are not being used in the county, in the city. You need to open them for the homeless. Thank you.
Speaker is Lewis Wilson. Lewis Wilson?
My name is Lewis Wilson. I'm a black American. My heritage is African, but I am an American. The justice system. Darren Wilson, innocent until proven guilty. Was Michael Vick innocent until proven guilty? Was OJ? We never are. We are always guilty until proven innocent. But understand what's really weighing on us, what's in our minds, on our hearts. We want to know exactly when will it be illegal for a white man to kill a black man or child in the United States of America. I have worked with people who told me plainly that they drove an hour and a half to work and an hour and a half home because they didn't want to live around blacks. They didn't want to raise their children around blacks. Know that if you live in Deep South County, Jefferson or Franklin counties, because you don't want to be around us, we don't want you driving up here to police us. What is your motivation? We will no longer accept it. You will be filtered out. Likewise, if you live here, or even if you are one of us, and you have a track record of prisoner abuse or brutality, you will be rooted out. Politicians, please, stop saying you will work for the people, get elected, and go immediately to work for big business. There have been articles in both Washington Post and Huffington Post showing that only 16 to 17% of white Americans even understand why we are upset. We have been bullied in every aspect of life forever in the United States of America. Double standards exist in everything.
That's 2 minutes, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Molly Greger. Molly?
Hi, I'm Molly. I'm back again. I'm sorry that you all have to see my face again, but like I said, I'll be here every week or every meeting until something changes. Again, we know you're not the police board. We understand that, but you all have voices. You all could, let me think, you could pass a resolution. You could release a press statement. You could just say something when I'm done talking. You could lean forward into your microphone and say, hey, I don't support police brutality. I don't like it. You don't have to say that you think Darren Wilson is guilty. I don't even need you to say that. I just need you to say that you think police brutality and the violation of your constituents' constitutional rights is wrong. I was told by a Ferguson police officer a couple weeks ago that unless I was Ferguson's city attorney, there is no way I could understand their municipal ordinances. I'm a paralegal. I read ordinances all day. I'm pretty sure I can get them. He then told me to go get a job. Again, I'm a paralegal. I have a job. Most of us have jobs. Most protesters do. Most of us have families. Most of us have lives. Most of us have places we would rather be than right here, right now. We're here because this matters to us, because it's important, and because we need you, as our elected leaders, to say something, to do something. It is not okay. Heather, who spoke a few minutes before me, mentioned a week and a half ago Josh Williams being beaten by a police officer. That is the same thing I talked to you about last week, and not one of you said anything. I hope that one of you at least looked up the video, because it's there, it's online. The fact that Channel 5 didn't show it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Thank you.
Next speaker is Tom Sullivan. Tom Sullivan. Next speaker is Sunny.
All right, hello everybody. Tonight I take a very different argument from everything that has been said. I feel like it's my duty to make people aware of the information that I'm coming across. Okay, once again, we are here for the pending justice of Michael Brown and also for the salvation of murder against young African American men and women who are targeted, discriminated against, and executed. But we must understand the system to fight against it. We must address this issue in its historical and spiritual context. Slavery was a stain in the foundation of a people who were never meant to have justice in a country that wasn't built for them. There is a systematic and spiritual agenda to maintain the oppression of blacks, which has been redesigned to control and to prevent the progression of African Americans from establishing their own status in society, besides that of the oppression of white supremacy in this country. A lot of blacks follow the Bible. Well, how come we are not connecting the dots of prophecy? African Americans are the descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel, who are God's chosen people, who rebelled then and rebel now. That is the reason that we are in the condition that we are. God said that he would either bless or curse the children of Israel, depending on their loyalty to God. since the children of Israel rebelled against God, he cursed them. And the curse would only be lifted upon the following of its statutes. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68 says, "And the Lord shall bring you into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spoke unto you. And you shall see it no more again, and you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen." What other group of people do we know that were enslaved and brought to a foreign country and sold unto their enemies? Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 33 says, "The fruits of your land and all your labor shall a nation which you know not eat up, and you shall only be oppressed and crushed always." You see, African Americans built this country, and yet we do not reap the benefits. We live under a system of white supremacy. And you see, we borrow from the lender. I quote this from the Hebrew African site. "The Gentiles control the banks, the Federal Reserve, and nearly all the lending institutions which contribute to the poverty of the blacks and Hispanics in the systematic slavery created to keep the rich wealthy and the poor impoverished." We must realize that we are the true Israelites. Michael Brown was another example of the curse that hunts black people in America. We must get our spirits right with God if we truly want justice. I want you guys to remember, every time that we are treated unfairly, remember that we are undergoing a spiritual warfare in which evil is winning. Let us come together in the name of God to be a force upon the wretched hand of evil. There will be those who carry on with their hunger, and I understand. Michael Brown is another example of the status of the black man in America and how whites feel about us. I want to say that we have every right to be angry because God gave us, we and you, a choice. We have every right to protest, for God gave us the Constitution. He gave us free will. The system has looted against us for 400 years. The system has stolen from us. The system has stolen our history, dignity, our education, our minds, our hearts. The system and the government, they are the real looters. Black people are mad at the system who steals and loots against them on a daily basis. They loot our money. They loot our justice. They loot our family. They loot our history. They loot our freedom, and they loot our rights. Okay? And you got to see they looted our ancestors. Thank you, guys. I hope you guys don't take my word for it. Do some research on everything that I had told you tonight. Thank you.
Yvette Townsend Sanders. Yvette Townsend Sanders.
Everything that's been said here tonight, I can sincerely relate to it. I'm hurt about the Michael Brown killing. I'm disappointed. I'm extremely disappointed in St. Louis County. I don't believe in St. Louis County, and it didn't stem just from the Michael Brown incident. Being homeless, I'm not homeless. I own a home in St. Louis County that I struggled very hard to pay for, and I paid my taxes. But there was a time I couldn't stay in my own home because of the lies. So going through what I knew that I went through with the police that lied on me, every word, came to my house, tried to get in my house, put their hand on my door. I asked, "Why are you here? I didn't call you." "Yes, you called because somebody from this house called." "Nobody's here but me." But my husband's ex-wife was a parole officer. And when I was arrested, every word in the police report was a lie. When I went to St. Louis County to talk to Tim Finch, I wrote Tim Finch letters. I wrote federal judges' letters. I went to talk to Charlie Dooley. I went to the St. Louis County police chief. Everywhere I went, I got the same reaction. Nobody was concerned. It was as if it was a big game that you all play. I went to Clara McCaskill. I looked in Chris Costner's face. I gave them copies of the police report, okay? St. Louis County, I have a friend, and I love her dearly. She's a white lady, and she loves me. And she said to me, "Yvette, don't trust men who wear hard shoes." I laughed, and I thought to myself, where'd she get that from? Well, when I went to St. Louis County in Hazelwood, the prosecuting attorney, who I feel is very dishonest on the bonds and things, because I know what happened to me. I know that every word was a lie. I know how I was treated. I know how they wouldn't give me a police report. I know the things that were done to me. I know about the bails. I know about the inconsistencies. I know about all those things because I experienced them. So when Mike Brown was killed, and when I was running around saying, how many other people are they doing this to? How many other people are they doing this to? So it didn't surprise me. I think that St. Louis County is one of the crookedest places. And yes, it has caused me problems. It has caused me financial difficulty because I couldn't live in my own home. I had to stay someplace else. Stangler, I don't know you. I know that you have been nominated to be the next St. Louis County executive. One thing that I did hear some people say, I'm not for the looting, you guys. I'm not for tearing up somebody's stuff, okay? I'm surprised. One thing that I have questions about, I'm surprised that that he supported a Democrat. And I want to know more about you. I want to know more about you, okay? Because I'm not happy with your opposing candidate. But St. Louis County, I think you all need to be wiped out. And you got some no good police officers. And if this is the result of all of you, this is the result of St. Louis County, how do you expect us to trust you and believe in you? And yet it's our tax dollars. It's our tax dollars that sit you there. And when you sit back and you do nothing, you are a part of the problem. And I also feel like this. I remember being in a small town, and someone said to me, I wouldn't spit on Clara McCaskill's grave, wouldn't spit on Clara McCaskill if she was burned. And I thought, oh my God, how could you say something like that? And the reason that person said they said it was because there were two people in trouble there. And whomever was related to Clara McCaskill did no time. But the child who was not connected to Clara McCaskill did all kinds of time. I don't know that child. So I say to you guys, do you act the way you do because you are immune to it? I think Darian Wilson killed Michael Brown because he knew that he would serve no consequences. And when you stand back and you do nothing, you are a part of it. I'm disappointed in all of you. I'm disappointed in St. Louis County. I think the police do what they do because they know they can.
Your time is up.
Yes, ma'am. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay. Okay. Introduction of bills.
Bill number 229, introduced by Councilmember Erby, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to accept a maternal child health services grant from the Missouri Department of Health and Human Services, DHSS, appropriating up to $350,000 received from DHSS, and authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with DHSS and other necessary documents related to the grant. Bill number 230, introduced by council members Wassinger and Dolan, an ordinance authorizing the chair of the Emergency Communications Commission to grant the city of Ladue the amount of $29,000 for partial reimbursement of costs of transitioning the city to fire dispatching services provided by Central County Emergency 911 and authorizing execution of related documents. Bill number 231, introduced by Councilmember Dolan, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with CMFG Life Insurance Company for lease of space at 222 South Merrimack Avenue for use by the Children's Service Fund Board. Bill number 232, introduced by Councilmember Erby, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with Regional Justice Information Service for the provision of information technology services to St. Louis County. Bill number 233, introduced by Councilmember Stanger, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a fuel sale contract and up to 3 one-year renewals with the city of Lakeshire. Bill number 234, introduced by Councilmember Erby, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with Bank of America N.A. for credit card acceptance services. Madam Chair, that is all the bills.
Thank you. Perfection of bills.
Bill number 8, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara.
Please hold.
So ordered.
Bill number 69, introduced by Councilmember Erby.
Please hold on Bill 69. That would be the order.
Bill number 218, introduced by Councilmember Erby.
Madam Chair, I move that we hold on that bill. We just had a meeting, and I think there were a number of comments from people that currently the fees paid in court include not only court costs, but fines and other fees. And Also, judges are able to waive some or all of those fees, and I think maybe we should give it more consideration. So I would move to hold on Bill 218.
I'll second that.
It's in my name, I think. Did you want, were you asking that I hold it?
Yeah.
Okay. I move to hold bill number 218.
Councilman
All in
Irby,
favor?
I was not at the hearing today for relating to this bill. Do you know if a summary is being prepared of how our fees compared to other fees in the county?
I don't think
In
anyone-
our municipalities?
Did anyone ask?
Has any kind of report been prepared on? I know you got back to me on one jurisdiction. Is that all that's been looked at so far?
No, I've looked at others, but I didn't go through 90 municipalities.
Okay, I'll follow up with you on that.
But I think the
Thanks.
deal was on that, Madam Chair, was that the $25 that we were talking about had nothing to do with the court whatsoever. It was just money being put into the general fund. Has nothing to do with court. And yes, the judge had the opportunity to waive it, but they never do because they don't. And those individuals that ask for information about filling out forms never get done. So if you want to hold it, that's fine, but the reason why it was put forth was because those things never get done in the court system, never.
Okay. It was moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Bill number 224, introduced by Councilmember Erby.
I move for perfection of bill number 224.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 224 is perfected. What is this?
Bill number 225, introduced by Councilmember Page. Can we have a substitute bill?
Please read the substitute.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 225, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance authorizing St. Louis County, Missouri to issue its taxable industrial revenue bonds, Davidson Surface / Air Inc. Project Series 2014, in a principal amount not to exceed $10 million for the purpose of providing funds to pay the cost of an industrial development project in the county, approving a plan for the project, and authorizing the county executive to enter into certain agreements and take certain other actions in connection with the issuance of the bonds.
Madam Chair, the nature of this substitute is to change the ownership to an LLC, and it was missed in the original preparation. I move the adoption of substitute bill number 1 for bill 225. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Substitute bill number 1 for bill number 225 is perfected. Adopted, I'm sorry.
Should I read
Can you read
both?
this again? Please read substitute bill number 1 for bill number 225 for perfection.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 225, introduced by Councilmember Page.
I move to perfect bill number 225. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Substitute bill number 1 for bill number 225 is perfected.
Bill number 226, introduced by Councilmember Quinn.
I take it up and move perfection of bill number 226.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 226 is perfected.
Bill number 227, introduced by Councilmember Stanger.
I move for perfection of bill number 227.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 227 is perfected.
Bill number 228, introduced by Councilmember Stanger.
I move for perfection of bill number 228.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 228 is perfected. Final passage of bills.
Bill number 215, introduced by Councilmember Erby.
I move for final passage of bill number 215.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 215, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 215 is finally passed.
Bill number 216, introduced by Councilmember Erby.
I move for final passage of bill number 216.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 216, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 216 is finally passed.
Bill number 217, introduced by Councilmember Erby.
I move for final passage of bill number 217.
Second.
Roll call. Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 217, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 217 is finally passed.
Bill number 219, excuse me, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara.
I move for final passage of bill number 219.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 219, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 219 is finally passed.
Bill number 220, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara.
I move for final passage of bill number 220.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 220, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 220 is finally passed.
Bill number 221, introduced by Councilmember Stanger.
I move for final passage of bill number 221.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 221, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 221 is finally passed.
Bill number 222, introduced by Councilmember Erby.
I move for final passage of bill number 222.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 222, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 222 is finally passed.
Bill number 223, introduced by Councilmember Erby.
I move for final passage of bill number 223.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 223, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 223 is finally passed.
We have no resolutions this evening, Madam Chair, so move on to unfinished business. Under unfinished business, item number 1, 4th District.
Hold on the order of business.
So ordered.
Item number 2, 5th District.
Hold on the order of business.
So ordered.
Item number 3, 3rd District.
Receive.
File and the license be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 4, 6th District.
Hold on the order of business, please.
So ordered.
And Madam Chair, we have no items under new business this evening.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.
you.